Eamon Khan here, 4 seconds out in the wake of the Day of Reckoning pay-per-view, finishing with some interesting results there. Joined by the one and only Dave Allen to dissect those fights. Dave, I'll let you start where you want to with the fights. So maybe we start at the top with Joshua defeating Otto Wallin, what was billed as a tricky fight.
Yeah, I thought Joshua boxed brilliantly. To be honest, I think it's not a coincidence. That performance comes on the back of the most active year he's had in a long time. Activity is key. A lot of these top fighters, like look at Bivol, who was on the card as well. He hasn't boxed for 13 months. You think if he's active, Lyndon Arthur's not lasting 12 rounds with him. I don't think so. Activity is key, and I think a lot of these top fighters, world champions. Back in the even the 80s, they was boxing 3 or 4 times a year. Never mind the 50s and 60s, 6, 7, 8 times a year. And that's why they was. You've got to be active, haven't you? I learned that the hard way with Fraser Clark. I think with Anthony Joshua, because he's been active, he's always in the gym, but fighting's different. Fighting in the stadium with the crowd, it's all different. So yeah, no coincidence that performance tonight's off the back of being active. I thought he looked brilliant. To be honest, Wilder's a good fighter, but he beat him all ends up. I thought he looked great.
How was he able to make it so easy when others have struggled with Otto and his style?
I think Joshua. I think he likes the southpaw. To be honest, Usyk's not your average southpaw.
Hmm.
Usyk's not your average fighter. Full stop. So he looked good. The right hand to the body was a good shot. He looked sharp. I think activity is the key. Anthony Joshua's been an elite heavyweight for many years, but boxing once or twice a year is no good for anybody. So he was sharp tonight. He was on point. That's the best I've seen him for a long time. Yeah, Wilder's no mug. Joshua just did everything he needed to do. So really impressed, to be honest. I thought it was brilliant.
Do you think it played a large part of the victory played to his link with Ben Davison? Do you think that extends going forward?
I think it extends going forward. I'm not sure how much credit you would give to Ben Davison over it. I think Ben Davison's doing a good job. I think he's obviously doing a good job. Lee Ward and the stable he's got, speaks for itself. But Anthony Joshua's been an elite heavyweight since 2012. You don't win the Olympic Games if you're not an elite heavyweight. He's been heavyweight champion of the world twice. As a boxing trainer myself, at a much lower level, the fighter is 99.9% of the job. If you got the fighter who's got the tools, I'm a big believer. The fighter is a massive part of the job. Anthony Joshua's very professional. He's got a great team around him. And if Ben Davison can just add that extra 0.5%, get things right, I think with Joshua, a lot of it's in his head, to be honest. A lot of it's a mental thing. So yeah, hopefully they stay together and it's a winning combination. Because the Joshua we've seen tonight can I believe beat anyone.
Does this do a lot to change the perspective about him not wanting to throw hands, being a bit gun shy? Off of this back of this performance, does it erase some of those doubts?
Yeah and no. As good as I thought he was, and as good as Wallin is, Wallin's a non-puncher at that level. Punch power is all about levels. I always go back to myself as it's easy for me to speak on that. But like Nick Webb was a big puncher at a level, but it's all about levels, And Wallin at domestic level would be a big puncher. If Wallin hit me, I'd probably think, oh, that hurt. But he's not a big puncher at the highest level, and he's not. And Josh will have to face much bigger punchers. Franklin's a non-puncher. Helenius at this point, while still a puncher, doesn't throw many punches. And Wallin, again, a non-puncher at the highest level. So it will be interesting if he does face a Hrgovic. All the Wilder fighters come to fruition. As it's a different kettle of fish, as he will have more to think about coming back. But I think the rebuilding process is done now, and I think he has to go into a really big fight next.
Just a minute ago, you said the Joshua we saw today beats anyone in the world. Does that include Fury? Does that include Usyk?
I think he can beat anyone. I wouldn't say with confidence that he will, but I definitely believe that he's capable of doing so. Usyk will always be a bad matchup for him, in my opinion. But Usyk and Fury arguably are both on the slide, and I think Joshua is improving. to be honest. Even at 34, with all the experience, I think he's still improving. People say sometimes changing trainers all the time is a bad thing, but I think he's picked up lots of new things, and he was fainting today. He's thrown feints before, but there was a bit cuter today, and everything was a bit more compact, and he's getting better. Yeah, there's always, boxing is massively about styles. So certain people will always pose problems to him, but on that performance tonight, I think he's right up there with the best of them.
When it comes to fights in the offing for Anthony Joshua, it was much mooted about a Deontay Wilder fight. That looks to be in ruins now, with Joe Parker ruining those plans. Some performance from Joe, but Deontay Wilder not taking too much away, but maybe wasn't the same.
Yeah, I think massive credit to Joe Parker, of course. I thought Joe Parker was in decline, to be honest. Going off the last 18 months, 2 years, the Joyce defeat, the massive performance. I thought he was on decline, but Wilder again, 1 round in 2 years. 1 round in 2 years is no good for anybody. And one thing about Parker, even though I've not been impressed with him, has been very active. So Wilder, after 2 years out, after 1 round in 2 years, to come back into a 12 round with Joseph Parker, for me, I think Wilder was a bit complacent. I think he gave away the first 6 rounds. It wasn't a case of Parker. Parker didn't have to overly do anything for 6 rounds. Wilder gave them away. I think he's fallen into the trap of believing in his own power. Thinking that he's going to finish the fight with one punch at any time. But you Parker 6 round head start. He's going to be a tough man to beat because he's very experienced. He's clever. He's tough. And yeah, for me, that's the end of Wilder. For me, I think he's done. To be honest, the post-fight interview and the performance for me at 38 with millions in the bank, I think that's him finished.
What more gives you the feeling that he's done? Is it the performance or the post-fight interview? Because the commentators picked up on him being content, doing the things outside of the ring, which kind of brought him a different perspective on the world, and saying, look, he's happy with things. And when you lose that edge, you don't want to fight anymore as much as you wanted to.
The performance was poor, to be honest. The tactics was awful, in my opinion. You can't just give rounds away. You can't. I'm not bothered who you are. I'm not bothered how big a punch you are. You can't just give rounds away. Give confidence like that to a former heavyweight champion of the world and just think you're going to turn around with one shot. On the post-fight interview, he just doesn't seem to be the same man anymore. He doesn't seem to have that same tenacity, that same desire to hurt, the same desire to win. So once that's gone, for a fight like that, I think it's the writers on the wall.
What next for Joe Parker, do you feel?
I don't know. He really turned it around. I did think Wilder would win before. I thought Parker was finished, and now he's got to be up there with the best of them. We've seen Joshua Parker. I wouldn't be in a rush to see that again. Fury Usyk's going to happen. Parker, I don't see him getting the winner of that. If it was Fury, he wouldn't watch Fury anyway. The heavyweights that was on the show tonight, I would just like to just mix them all up, do it all again at some point early. April, May next year, and mix them all up. I'd like to see Parker Hrgovic. I'd watch Parker Sanchez. I'd watch Parker Caballel. But Parker, after that, I'll probably think he'll want something a bit bigger than the names I mentioned there. But he's put himself in a great position.
Final one before we move on to the last topic. Where, if Wilder was to retire, where would you put him in amongst this generation's heavyweights?
It's an interesting one because someone was saying something to me earlier, and people always say Wilder's best win was Ortiz, whose best win was myself, which is actually untrue because Bryant Jennings was 10 times better than me. As was, I think he beat Tony Thompson as well, who was a million times better than me as well. Ortiz was very good, but Wilder for me is his body of work, his resume of wins and performances really leave a little to be desired. But realistically, this era, Fury, Usyk, Joshua. For me, Joshua's the best resume of the lot at heavyweight. He's boxed everybody and he has lots of good wins. Fury obviously got the Wilder wins, who we're talking about now. If his resume is not good, then beating him is not that impressive. He beat Klitschko, and then you've got Usyk, who's the bulk of his wins are at cruiserweight. So Wilder has to be up there. But for me, this era, the era that we're in now, maybe maybe we always look back to the olden days and think they was better, and in 20 years' time we'll look back and appreciate what we've got now. But for me, he'd probably number four for me. But yeah, it's a funny one. It's a funny one because maybe we'll appreciate him more, further down the line.
Wilder might be number four in your eyes, but Daniel Dubois will feel like he's top of the pops right now with his
Yeah.
victory over Jarrell Miller. It's somewhat stealing the spotlight in the fight week with their back and forths, capturing the attention of people. But Dubois had to adapt in there in the ring and answered for a lot of people a lot of questions that have been thrown his way.
Yeah, I loved it, to be honest. That was the highlight of my evening. It was a good performance, really. It was a good performance. He showed a bit of toughness and a bit of grit, and he boxed well as well. 10 rounds he was on the move early. He was looking. I was unsure after 2 or 3 rounds. I thought Miller was going to get to him, but Miller, the shape Miller was in was embarrassing, really. And the punch output wasn't the same. Lots of question marks over previous results for me now, looking at Miller tonight. But he's certainly tough. But hopefully Dubois goes on. I'd watch Dubois and Parker. I'd watch Dubois Joyce rematch. And I never want to see Miller again. Hopefully that's the end of him.
Where do you rank Dubois' power, talking about power and levels, with Miller able to suck it up until the 10th? Was that because of his resistance? Was it because of his weight? Was it Dubois' power not there at that level? What's the situation there, do you feel?
Miller's ultra tough, really tough. And he's 23 stone. That's a lot of weight. I sparred Dubois although many years ago, and he hit me with a jab, and I was petrified for the right hand, to be honest, because he hit me with the left hand and I nearly snapped my neck. And I've got a big old neck and head, and he nearly snapped my neck. And I thought, wow. And hit me with the right hand, and I thought, I wish he'd stop hitting me with the jab and hit me with the right hand. The jab was harder than the right hand. So he's a big puncher, but his jab is more powerful than his right hand, I find. I'd be interested in speaking to other people that sparred him and other opponents, but his jab for me was like a right hand, and his right hand didn't have the same effect. Maybe the jab numbed all feeling. I'm not sure, but he's certainly for me a world class heavyweight. I think he's world class. He's still only pretty young, and I still think, and I hope, because in recent times when a fan of me, I like him. He comes out with some ridiculous things. I quite like him. I was really happy for him to win. So yeah, hopefully that's a springboard for him to still want to become heavyweight champion of the world one day.
When you were watching the fight, were you at all worried because of what's happened in previous fights with him? Were you watching it with worry?
After 2 or 3 rounds, I thought Miller's going to get to him. I thought he's going to break him down, and I think we got to around round 6, and you could just see after round 3, you're thinking Miller's going to out-tough him, and after round 6, you just know Dubois is fit. You just know he's got you just know he trains hard. You just know he lives for boxing. So when he got to around round 6, there's only one winner, and it's Dubois, because Miller isn't fit. He's too heavy and he's not fit, whereas Dubois is ultra fit. So at that point, I'm not worrying that Dubois is going to blow out. I know, if anything, Miller's going to get stopped at this point, because Miller just ain't fit and he's just fat, and he's more than likely off the gear. And he just didn't have it, and Dubois is ultra fit. So I was over the moon for him. I was over the moon for Caballel. Thought that was a beating Magmadov. It wasn't a surprise to me. I've been in lots of sparring camps, and Caballel is spoke about so highly. So hopefully he goes on a good run now. Overall, I thought the show was great. There's a few mismatches, but hopefully the next show they're over there, a few more competitive matches to go with the big names and the great talents, and we could be on, as boxing fans, we're going to be in a very good place, I think, with what's going on over there.
Final one, Dave. It was pitched for Dubois and maybe Caballel to duke it out, but I think it might be meriting maybe Dubois and Joyce going at it again, maybe.
Yeah. I think Dubois Joyce is the way to go. If I'm any heavyweight, any big name heavyweight, I'm leaving Caballel alone. because Cabiel can fight, and Cabiel's not bringing too much to the table, really. So I would leave Cabiel alone. I would leave Sanchez alone. Yeah, Joyce Dubois is the fight. I think that's the one I would like to see, the rematch. And I think Dubois would go in as a big favourite now, on the back of the recent performances. But what they're in over there, there's so many good fights being made. Watching tonight, I want to see Opetaya go to heavyweight as well. I'm sick of seeing him beat up. The last two opponents for me, it's just been a shame, really. He should be fighting at the least Billam Smith. Billam Smith holds the title. Box Billam Smith. Box the French fellow that's got the belt. I think one of the French Algerian, maybe Gulam Marin, is still the WBA champion. Yeah. Box him. There's no way Opetaya should be boxing fighters that have not even won a British title. The matchmaking, the Zorro fight, dangerous. And the Thompson fight was.
Thompson.
They're both dangerous, really.
Yep.
Really dangerous. Opetaya's pound for pound top 10, definitely. And he's in with fighters that haven't boxed for the British title. So the matching really is dangerous. I would like to see him box one of the other cruiserweight champions next. And the IBF was right to strip him, by the way, in my opinion. Because the level of opposition is so much. He's not world level. But for me, he has to box one of the champions next, or go to heavyweight. Because I want to see Opetaya box Usyk. That is the one. If I could pick one fight right now in world boxing, I want to see Opetaya Usyk. That is what I want to see. I'm desperate to see Opetaya at heavyweight.
I think you hit the nail on the head with everything you said here, Dave. Pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for being the Seconds Out. Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year.
Straight to bed for me, mate. I'm tired. I want to say we've done this now because I can promise I get up in the morning. And because I had no top on, I put my mother-in-law's dressing gown on as well, if anyone's wondering what this is.
You're the man. Appreciate it.